They want to make every internet system, every server, you pay for it. And you pass it on to your customers, I guess, have a piece of government equipment plugged into it. Just like with the Telecommunications Act of 96, $9 billion was given of taxpayer money to AT&T and others to put whole floors of their buildings or to build buildings next door to their main buildings where the NSA openly reads every email, every fax, every phone call with keyword software listening. And, of course, that was all in the Telecommunications Act, and people called it a conspiracy theory when I talked about it. Then, 10 years later, in 2008, I guess more than 10 years later, 12 years later, they report, oh, yes, all over the country, entire floors of every IT building, every phone company are NSA. See, the phone company is the NSA. And that's all this is, but this will cost, they're saying, maybe $100 billion just to put it in and tens of billions a year. Even the smaller IT companies, smaller servers, everything will have a government-approved pieces of equipment coupled to it where they can shut you off, they can spy at will, they have all the codes and back doors to your systems openly. And they're really already doing most of this, but this is because Microsoft's a government front. That's come out totally. Bill Gates runs nothing. That's just a complete front. They can't have the government openly running things, so they set up IBM as a front, Microsoft as a front, and then that's actually part of the corporate records if you go research it. But side issue, Microsoft's really like a Planned Parenthood front. It's like a foundation mainly to raise money for Planned Parenthood. Oh, you didn't know that? You didn't know that Gates' daddy runs it? But side issue. Same with IBM, the main funders of Hitler, of course. And then when the old man died in the 50s, he gave his money and said the tax-free foundation had to be for carrying out eugenics. If you don't know what eugenics is, you better find out. When you're drinking tap water, you're enjoying a little eugenics. Let me give you the lowdown, the down low. The DL, baby. Truth's a lot stranger than fiction, I'll assure you. But, Bill would give President emergency control of the Internet. And they've now got a diversity chairman over the Internet. And they're saying the FCC is going to run the Internet now. And they've got more than 10 senators I've seen the last few months saying they are going to try to shut down talk radio and free speech. And they're going to have a tax on radio, online radio as well, where you're going to have to fund NPR, which is National Petroleum Radio, not National Public Radio, openly run by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds, the eugenicists. I mean, this is just incredible. And so when we get back, I want to go over how they're taking over the Internet and how they're going to end the free open Internet as you know it. But before we go to break, a very simple piece of this is Google Phone. Tens of millions signed up for it. Basically free phone service in the country you live in. Very cheap, less than a cent a minute overseas. Well, Apple, iPhone, and AT&T don't allow you to contact any of their phones or their phone system with a Google phone. That's how they shut the web down. That's how they shut the Internet down, is by just blocking off the addresses. But they want physical control over the infrastructure itself with, quote, the government having the power to kill the Internet to save it. And the Pentagon, again, admitted they've been attacking their own systems and then blaming it on foreign governments as a pretext to pass this bill. And if this bill doesn't pass, look for a false flag, fake Internet attack to get it passed in the next few months.
This is Alex Jones. Have you heard of the Millionaire Patriot? Well, you should. He has a free handgun and 5 days of firearms training waiting for you. That's right. You can attend 5 days of world-class gun training at Front Sight Firearms Training Institute and secure a 30-state concealed weapons permit, all for pennies on the dollar. Plus, if you act fast, the Millionaire Patriot will give you a free Springfield Armory XD pistol in the caliber of your choice. I believe now is the time that you and your family need to be armed and trained to levels that exceed law enforcement and military standards. Front Sight provides such training without any boot camp mentality or drill instructor attitudes. This is real. Don't miss out. Secure a Front Sight defensive handgun course, plus a 30-state concealed weapons permit for pennies on the dollar, and get your free handgun. Go to frontsight.com today. That's FRONTSIGHT.com. Go to frontsight.com for your training and free gun.
Everything is done because of an emergency. Homeland Security and Northcom was set up to fight Al-Qaeda after the emergency of 9/11. It really wasn't. It was covertly set up in the early 1990s, close to a decade before. And now, because the Russians and Chinese are attacking the internet, they have to take over every local computer network and system by federal law and force everyone to go under government specs and control the architecture of the internet's development. And guess what? They're going to force it onto internet too and shut down the old web and the new internet. This is all stated by government and private consortiums in their own Internet 2 yearly meetings. You can go read the minutes of these meetings if you want and the transcripts. It's public. They always, their slogan is the internet is dead. The internet is dead. Internet 2 lives. And Internet 2 is basically like cable on internet, where you don't have any more freedom and where the browsers by law, the government is going to tell you, this is, by the way, in the news, the government's going to tell you if something is a safe site or not safe. And they start out with sites that actually might have a Trojan or might have scumware on it. And then now they're saying, Jones Report promotes criminal activity, government libraries, citizen paid for libraries, and InfoWars isn't allowed on the European train systems on the quote free government Wi-Fi. So they're now phasing it in. They get you addicted to the web, they make the whole system convert to the web, and then they shut off the free web and hoard it all for themselves. And they're going to do it if you let them, and they're going to tax and regulate all forms of free speech and, quote, then use the money to fund government TV and radio and internet. These are some sick bastards. See, the parasite needs the alternative media. And so it's just going to restrict us, attack us, but then everybody will still fight to get to us. So then they're going to tax us. And this is all introduced. This is all announced. The FCC diversity chief is what he's called. Diversity czar is on video. We may play this later if we have time. It's up on InfoWars saying we need systems like Hugo Chavez has, where he just shuts down whenever he wants. That's the new America. And it's bipartisan. You watch, when Obama leaves, all these police state things on free speech are going to be kept by the new fake right-wing government, and suddenly all these right-wing hosts will be, well, the Democrats are the ones that set it up. They don't like their own medicine. See how they play that game? Whereas if we would just be for the Bill of Rights and Constitution across the board and the rule of law across the board, this could all stop. Bill would give President emergency control of internet. Internet companies and civil liberties groups, how about just people that love freedom, were alarmed this spring when a U.S. Senate bill proposed. And by the way, we have the clip of Senator Jay Rockefeller saying we need to end the internet. We'd be better off without it. I mean, they're saying they're ending it. And they say, this is the power to end it, but only to save it. And they're going to say the Russians attack it. I mean, like, Air Force, One might get hacked, or somebody hacked Marine One. And then it turned out it was the Pentagon, and the Pentagon's bragging in consortium meetings in San Antonio. We've posted the minutes where the Air Force publishes going, we need to attack U.S. bloggers. They're part of the enemy, and we may need to even kill U.S. journalists in America. I mean, these guys get up. In fact, people won't believe that. Google, Pentagon says they may need to kill U.S. journalists. And then you can go to the Air Force saying, it's not enough to have the Army watching me and Ron Paul and it being in the Baltimore Sun that they follow in the Fed protest. I mean, folks, the government is completely criminal and owned by offshore banks. And they told you Northcom was for Al-Qaeda. No, the power drills and the acid and the rape rooms are for you, the person that owns a farm or ranch. It's for you that owns a company. This is about tyranny, people. A lot of Germans found out, though. See, Hitler tested his stuff out on the Jews and gypsies and people he didn't like. But then he moved on to everybody else. That was his real target. But you'll find out, because you wouldn't stand up for America. Internet companies and civil liberties groups were alarmed this spring when a U.S. Senate bill proposed handing the White House the power to disconnect private sector computers from the Internet. Oh, yes, the government will disconnect your computers. And they've also pinned the Pentagon's journalist vetting program. I think you just found the article about them killing people. No, that's not it. It's another story where the Pentagon said that they're going to, quote, the Pentagon says U.S. bloggers enemies, to be treated as enemies. And then those stories, there's a whole bunch of them 6 months ago or so, then linked to the actual transcripts where they say, we need to start killing Americans in America. Of course, Cheney already had hit teams doing that, so Al-Qaeda. How about people he was competing with for contracts? Yeah, that's what the real hit squads are for. Companies they're up against.